Hello students, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. In today's video, we are going to discuss about why sea levels are rising across the world and how it is going to become and already is becoming a global threat. In recently conducted UPSC mains examination, a question was also asked in the geography section regarding the sea level rise. So let us try to understand this in more detail. Recently, the news regarding the sea level again become a headline when the Secretary General of United Nations, that is Mr. Antonio Guterres, he made a statement that is the ocean is overflowing. Now, this statement was made in the Tonga, that is a small island country situated in the Pacific Ocean, around the central Pacific Ocean, and this is a group of islands. As a group of islands in geography is called as archipelago. So, this archipelago is one of the several countries in the region that are severely and disproportionately threatened by the sea level rise. The reason is simple, because the elevation or the average height which these island countries have from the sea level is very less. Most of the island countries are in the range of 5 to 10 meters or even sometimes to 15 to 20 meters maximum from the sea level. And while low-lying islands obviously are particularly vulnerable, especially those islands which are made up of corals or have coral origins such as Maldives, Lakshadweep, many coastal communities and cities worldwide are already struggling with the more destructive intense floods and the cyclonic storms that endanger lives, jobs and crucial infrastructure, and this also to some extent is related to the global sea level rise. Now, how fast are the sea level risings? So, if you try to understand the report as published by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change IPCC, it clearly has mentioned that the global sea levels have risen faster since the start of 20th century and than any point that we have witnessed in the entire history of last 3000 years. And not only it has risen faster, but the rate at which sea level is rising is already accelerating. In this context, since 1880, that is the time we can understand with the industrial revolution basically has begun or picked up its pace, they have risen to more than 20 centimeters, that is more than 8 inches we can say, and this is getting faster with each of the passing decade, obviously because more and more industries are continuously being added and more number of vehicles are continuously being sold. Now, the global average sea level hit record height in the year 2023 according to the WMO, that is World Meteorological Organization. In some areas of the southwestern Pacific Ocean, sea levels have risen close to twice the global rate since 1993. So, obviously, we have to understand that the sea level rise, when we talk about, we are not referring to the uniform rise that is happening in sea level across the entire earth, but in the some ocean the rise of level is much more faster, in some ocean the rise of level is slower, and that obviously depends on the ocean dynamics and the overall melting of the glaciers and ice shelf, how fast and where they are melting. Now, what about the future trends? So, we can take two cases. Case 1 is the goal that we have given to ourselves in the Paris Agreement is achieved. That means the temperature rise we are able to control up to or below 1.5 degrees Celsius. Now, this is the best case scenario. Even in this case, and even if we are able to hit the net zero emission by year 2050, global sea level are set to rise further at least by 38 centimeters by 2100. Second case is if we keep on moving further in future at the same rate at which we are burning and emitting the greenhouse gases, the temperature rise is expected to be about 2.7 degrees Celsius by the end of the century, which will lead to a further rise of 56 centimeter. So, in the best case 38 centimeter, in the worst case 58 centimeter, 56 centimeter. However, many scientists also argue that due to several other factors, the global sea level rise can even rise by 1 to 1.8 meters by the end of 2100. So, every 2.5 centimeter of sea rise that happens, now this we can understand or we can feel that rise of few centimeters is not a significant rise, because anyway we are 5 meters, 7 meters above sea level at all the places, but that is not correct. Every 2.5 centimeter of sea rise that happens basically will lead to 2.5 meters of the lost beach front. That means if total 38 or 40 centimeter to 50 centimeter of sea rise happens, you can understand that it will be leading to about 20 to 30 meters of these beachfront that we will lose, and the understanding can get from the example of Kolkata, which is situated about 10 meters above the sea level. So large coastal cities, coastal lands will become unusable. Not only that, once we lose the beachfront, the effect of tides and storms will be felt even to the more inward extent as we feel today. So equally, for each centimeter of sea level rise, an extra 6 million people, if you try to understand it, the effect on the people, extra 6 million people are estimated to be exposed to the coastal flooding. So that is why even 1 centimeter of rise have a significant impact on the lives of people. Now the question comes is, what is the reason behind this rise? And the obvious answer is the global warming. But the global warming is again caused by the burning of fossil fuels for use including energy industry and transport, and that releases huge amount of greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide, methane and other. These gases then trap the energy of the earth within the atmosphere, causing the rise of the sea level. And since the atmosphere and the seas are continuously interacting with each other, this has caused the seas to absorb an estimated 90% of the atmospheric warming over the past 50 years, and the pace of ocean heating has also doubled in the last 20 years. That means whatever temperature rise happens in atmosphere, it is being transferred to the global ocean. Now, ocean temperature is rising 3 times faster than the global average in the Southwest Pacific Ocean. That is why the countries and the islands that are situated in this region is facing higher extent of vulnerability. The ocean temperature in 2023 were the hottest on record that we have discussed. Now, if you look at the mechanism, so obviously when the water heats up in the ocean, as it absorbs the global this atmospheric energy, the volume of the water expands, it grows, and due to the process that we call as thermal expansion, and that causes the rise in the sea level. Apart from that, the change in the land water storage can also contribute to the sea level rise. For example, when the large extent of groundwater is pumped out, it can lead to a net change in the ocean water volume also, as almost all the water that you pump or that you take up on the surface of the land is finally discharged into the ocean itself. However, one of the major sources of sea level rise is the melting of ice sheets and mountain glacier due to the increasing heat. So, when we talk about the sea level rise, we are just not talking about the global warming, we are talking about the combined effect of all these factors that we have discussed. If you try to understand about the ice melting, an average of 150 billion tons of ice mass are lost yearly from Antarctica, and 270 billion tons of the ice mass are lost from the Greenland alone. Now, there is a concept or the term that is used in climatology that is called as climate tipping point. Now, this is something that Earth can face in the near future, and this refers to a situation when temperature will be rising beyond 1.5 degrees Celsius, and this kind of temperature increase can cause irreversible collapse of the entire Greenland and the West Antarctic ice sheets with severe repercussions for sea level. And that is why the world should make a clear-cut attempt, a strong, or we can say what we can say as a very strong attempt to ensure that the tipping point in the climate does not reach us. Now, the most impacted region obviously are going to be the low-lying small islands, because we have discussed that these are the islands which are situated at very less elevation from the sea level. Coastal cities and communities, obviously they are going to be impacted. They are already being affected, as there is a loss of coastal land. Agriculture is being impacted due to the intrusion of salinity from the seawater during the high tides. The freshwater challenges they are facing already. Tropical region, obviously, since they are the one that absorbs maximum amount of heat from the sun, will be at highest risk, particularly in Asia, with countries such as Bangladesh, India, China, because they have a huge population that is living in the coastal areas. Especially if we talk about India, we have such a huge coastline of more than 7,500 kilometers, and a lot of big cities such as Mumbai, Kolkata, Chennai will be at higher risk. And apart from that, river deltaic regions, where broad areas, the rivers are meeting the sea, often where port cities are located, obviously they will be at high risk, because they will have to bear the brunt of both inflow of the river, outflow of the river water, as well as inflow of the sea water due to the global sea rises. Now, what is the way forward? So, obviously, as you know that largest extent of rise is contributed by global warming, we have to take a long-term measure, which we can call as a mitigation measure, is to rapidly reduce the emission, shift from the dirty fuels or fossil fuel to a cleaner source of fuels, and also switch from the diesel and petrol vehicle to the electrical vehicle as fast and as soon as possible. However, many effects of the climate change have become irreversible, and no matter whatever action we take even from now, it will not be sufficient enough to cause the temperature rise to be lesser than 1 degree Celsius. And that is why adaptation measures are also required, and already many countries are taking such measures, that is to protect against the harmful impact of the climate change and the temperature rise as well as the sea level rise. These are development of sea walls and a storm surge barrier, so that the waves of sea cannot enter the mainland India, mainland regions or the populated region. Driving of wooden sticks, this can be very simple, like in Senegal's beaches. Wooden sticks have been driven so that it can act as a barrier against a strong push of the sea, or regenerating of mangrove forests that is going on in the Cameroon. Again, mangrove forest can act as a very strong barrier against any kind of tropical storms as well as the high tides. For low-lying small island states, response are very limited, and for them the only response which they are taking or which can be taken is to move the entire village to the higher ground. That has been done in the Fiji, and recently that has been done in the Panama in the Central America also, building of floating cities in the Maldives, and reclaiming land from the sea, that has been done in the Tuvalu. So, these are what we can say is the solution or the way forward for the problems of the sea level rise that we are facing. So, this is all about this particular video. I hope you understood the concepts of the sea level rise, why it is happening, how it is happening, and what can be the ramifications of it.